Hello and welcome to this new lesson in which we are going to start coding using Arduino IDE. Arduino IDE. Now we will start by including some libraries. First, we know for sure that we will need, let me increase the font size. We will need the Wi-Fi library. So write Wi-Fi.x. And we also need the Wi-Fi client library. .x. And we will need the DHT sensor library, so we have to include it. And we need the Blink ESP32 library, so let's include that too. Blink symbol ESP32.x. Now these are the main libraries that we need. Let's define some variables, and if we need more libraries we will add them as we go in the coding. Now define DHPin and define the DHT type. So let's write define again. DH type, the sensor type. Now the sensor type is DHT11, and the pin, as we already mentioned in the text document, that the DH pin is number 23. So here we write 23. Now we need to initialize some variables for the relay and other components that we have in the system. Now we know for sure that the relay is connected to pin number 22. And we also know that the water level is connected to pin number here 21. And we will define another variable for the soil sensor, and it's connected to pin number 19. Now just write sensor here and write sensor here to make sure that. Now let's define two new variables, one the water level and the other one for soil sensor level data. Now we will use the DHT library, but let's first save our code. Now that we have saved the code, let's verify and make sure that we don't have any errors. We will most likely face a library error, as you can see. Now the DHT library is not recognized, so you need to go to the tools. Okay, now include library, and from sketch include library, manage libraries, and we need to include these libraries. Now look for the first library, the DHT library. As you can see here, we have DHT sensor library. Click install all. Now as you can see, the library is installed. Click close click verify. Now you can see that the DHT is recognized. Now we have this library, Blink Simple ESP. Go to Sketch, include library, manage libraries, and do the same thing to include this library. Now paste it here, hit the enter button and wait. Now you might need to change the keyword that you are using to look for the library. Here we have the Blink library, and as you can see, it has support for ESP32. And click install. Now, as you can see, installed. Now click close and try to verify to see if this works or not. As you can see, Blink Simple library is still not defined, so we need to edit this. Now the problem that we have here is that ESP is written in capital letter. Let's try small letter and let's verify. Okay, now as you can see, this code now recognize the Blink library, but since we are choosing Arduino Uno as our main board, we are facing a verifying error. So go and change this to ESP32. Okay, let's look for the one that we have, ESP div kit. Okay, this one, do it ESP32 div kit version 1. Now we'll verify your code. You should see that you don't have any errors, and make sure that you have the S and P in small letter here. It's taking some time, and we have explained how to enable ESP32 on your Arduino IDE. You need to check this out if you can. As you can see now, done compiling, which means that all the libraries are defined and everything is working just fine. Now we need to make sure, okay, here we have an issue. Now we need to make sure that we create a new object from the DHT sensor. Let's go DHT, and we'll take two variables. The first one is this one, DHT pin, and the second one is the type. Now we need to add a timer. Let's create a new Blink timer for the Blink app, and we will explain why we are doing this later. Now double click. Before moving on, we need to know that for Blink app to recognize our ESP board, we need to have an authentication key, which will be provided by the Blink app once we set it up in the coming lessons. So for now, we need to define a character for the authentication. And here you need to enter your authentication code. Now, since our ESP board is using Wi-Fi to connect to the internet, we need to make sure that we have the Wi-Fi setting set up correctly. So define a new character for the network name, and here we will add Wi-Fi SSID, and another character for the password. Here, Wi-Fi password. You need to add a semicolon at the end of these two lines. Now, we need to create a new method to send our sensor data to the Blink app. Now we know for sure that we have like 3 or 4 sensors. The Arduino code for this is pretty straightforward. We will use the DHT sensor library to get the temperature and humidity readings, and the water and soil moisture levels are just analog readings, so we can use the analog function to read the incoming data and set a range to convert it and send it to our app. Depending on your environment and sensor constraints, the analog values from the water and soil moisture level sensors can be treated and mapped into a range. Now we will create two functions to send data to the Blink app. The first function will help send the temperature and humidity values since we are relying on the DH library, and the second method will send the water and soil moisture levels sensors readings, which are basically analog readings. It will send these readings to the Blink app. So let's get started with the first function. Write void send sensor DH. Now this is the first method, and let's define the second method, then we can start writing the code. Send sensor water soil. Okay, now we have these two methods. In the next lesson, we are going to code these two methods and proceed with the void loop and void setup functions. But that's it for this lesson. Let's do a quick revision. We included the Wi-Fi and Wi-Fi client libraries for the Wi-Fi connection, the DHT library for the temperature and the humidity sensor, the Blink simple ESP library so that we can easily connect our ESP32 board with the Blink app servers. We defined these to make sure that we have the correct pin number for the DH sensor relay, water and soil sensor, and we created two variables to store the incoming data from the water and soil sensor since they are analog readings. We also defined an object called DHT from the DHT library, and we created a timer using the Blink timer library and the Blink simple ESP32 library, and we will use it inside our functions. Now we already mentioned that the Blink app has an authentication key for each user and for each app, so you need to enter the authentication key here, and we'll explain how to get it in the practical lesson regarding the Blink app. We already mentioned that we are using Wi-Fi connection, so we define two variables, one for the Wi-Fi network name and the other one for the password. Now we have two functions. The first one will be coded to send the temperature and the humidity sensor readings, and the second one will be coded to send the water and soil moisture level readings. That's it for this lesson. Thanks for watching. If you have any question, please ask in the Q&A board. This is Ashraf from Educational Engineering Team.